This is TWiT.
So, 4.3 billion.
Holy
is the
cow.
number.
That's a big number.
That is the SPAC IPO number, the valuation now for Nextdoor, a company that never should have started because newspapers should have figured this out ages and ages ago, how to start this on their own. And they were too damn stupid, and they left open the opportunity. And folks came in and figured it out and did a much better job. I think it's very good. I had meetings with Nirav Tolia, that's his name, right? Who was the co-founder. I had meetings with them in a newspaper company years ago, and they kind of said, we don't really need the newspaper. You're just another marketing place. You'll manipulate it. I'm not so sure. They were right. So it's a SPAC from Vinod Khosla. They had received 270 million. I'm sorry, no, they raised over 270 million from venture capitalists, most recently at a $2.2 billion valuation, including Benchmark, Greylock, and Shasta. Now it's a $4.3 billion SPAC. And in the deck, they say that they are in 1 in 3 U.S. households, or rather the households are in Nextdoor. 60 plus million verified neighbors. This was the key.
Wow. It
was verified local identity. That was the whole thing. You had to have verified. You literally got a postcard of your house saying, yes, that's me.
I didn't have to do that when I joined.
If somebody else vouched for you. But if you tried to get in, they had a backup postal system.
Because they really want people to be members who are in the neighborhood.
Yes. And they've expanded pretty greatly the definition of neighborhood, but be that as it may, 27 million weekly active neighbors, or WANs. Yeah, I know. At least they don't have a company song. So I think it's an impressive company that's done well. And yes, some neighborhoods aren't as pleasant as other neighborhoods. And yes, there are jerks in the world, and some of them are on Nextdoor. But it's interesting. One of the things interesting to me was I think they tried to make themselves the unsocial network because they compared themselves differently to 82% of Nextdoor users did not visit Snap in the last month. 64% LinkedIn, 63% Twitter, 27% Facebook or Messenger, right? That they're trying to say our people are different people. They aren't in all those yucky places. It's just like Google saying, don't call us a platform. Don't mix us in with them. They got cooties. And so it's doing well. They have a CEO who was at Snap, Sarah Fryer, who replaced Nirav Tolia, and they're doing well. So congratulations to them. Should have been newspapers, but it wasn't.
I'm just looking. I'm looking at my Nextdoor. Let's see. Here's somebody warning about a plumber who ripped her off. The mountain lion, has he been caught yet? Do we know? I don't know. Here's what to do if you encounter a mountain lion.
We get a lot of those too.
It says, offer any handy small children, run away while lion eats. Wait a minute. Okay, you can't trust everything you read.
Smart.
Yes.
Don't have to be the fastest. Just
fireworks.
Have to be faster than the next person.
Hey, certain neighbors, thanks for setting off the illegal fireworks. My dog is now terrified. You are a selfish jerk.
Yeah, a lot of that on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think you're reading my Nextdoor. We have the mountain lion discussion. We have the
fireworks. It's probably very.
Discussion.
I would imagine they're all pretty similar. You get advertisements for homes for sale in your neighborhood, right?
We had a bunch of extra boxes. My wife went on Nextdoor and said, anybody want them? So I have to recycle them. And boom, somebody came and said, thanks. You saved us $40 in boxes. They just picked them up.
Yeah. Here's a fox eating somebody's chicken.
Man, them little punks are everywhere.
Yeah, they like chickens too. Mm-hmm. But so do I.
Well, if you were a fox, you would be in the chicken capital of the world.
Exactly. Where else would you be?
Why they moved there.
Free moving boxes. Yeah, it's kind of boring, but it's kind of useful too.
That's the point.
Right?
That's the point.
It's intentionally boring. 54% of my neighbors are on this. Actually, I think it's more than that. It says I have 144 neighbors, out of 166 households. So it sounds like almost everybody. There's at least one person from almost every household.
So when I started my neighborhood in Hurricane Sandy, they said, and I went for my street. We live on, because we're out here in the middle of nowhere next to Trump, golf course. There's only so many people I actually knew. They said, no, that's not enough neighbors. I said, well, if I get enough neighbors for what you want me to, I'm going 3 miles away. It's people I don't know, and you want me to verify people, and right. So they were kind of mixed up in the early days, and then now, indeed, it's a much broader area because they want enough interactivity. If you're in Silicon Valley, people have very active neighbors. Palo Alto is just insanely active, so that's all you need is part of Palo Alto. But in other areas, they expand it. They also have expanded, so you have your home neighborhood, and then your vacation home neighborhood, and then your work neighborhood, or whatever else you want. But the secret to this was when I talked to Nirav Tolia, the co-founder, he said, I couldn't believe the newspapers didn't figure out that the whole point was verified identity, and social networks didn't figure out verified identity. And they found their niche, and they built a huge company out of it.
Here's another interesting thing. You can see which of your neighbors, this is my area, and which of the neighbors are signed up. The green ones are signed up. The pink ones are not. So you can actually
social jerks.
Well, you can even see like, oh, hey, Peggy and Rolf aren't signed up. That's really interesting. You can see who is and who isn't signed up.
Maybe you should evangelize.
Yeah. Hey, Peggy, come on. So what do you think? Worth $4.3 billion? I guess it is. I mean, it's a real social network.
Yes.
Wait. Are we assuming the stock market's based on anything? Sure, it's worth.
Well, this is worse than the stock market. This is the SPAC market.
Well, the SPACs are for the stock market.
What's the difference between a SPAC and an IPO?
A SPAC is where private investors put the money up and then they merge with another company that's already public. It's kind of like a pipe.
A SPAC is like a pipe?
A pipe, please.
Oh.
What?
Sorry. A SPAC. So basically a SPAC is where you have a big public company, you have a big pool of investors or maybe one investor. And then they are a shell corporation that's already listed on the stock exchange. And then
so they've already gone public in effect. And by merging with them, you go public without all the hoorah.
Yeah. In a pipe, what does a pipe stand for? They were all the rage in like the pink sheets. Pipe. Oh, that's not going to help. Pipe financial industry.
I won't make you explain pink.
That's okay.
We
really didn't want to
go down this YouTube
that
rabbit hole forever here.
Okay. Have I explained how Sudoku can really be an entryway?
I'm sorry, you guys. You asked these questions.
No, you sufficiently answered the SPAC versus IPO.
Okay.
And why people want to do that, because it's faster and eliminates a lot of the regulatory paperwork.
Yeah, you could avoid a lot of SOX issue. Well, you still have to eventually have accounting, but yeah.
So once they're in this Coastland acquisition fund, they're now merged with this, so they're now technically public. People could buy stock in Nextdoor, right?
They'll buy a stock in the company that is Nextdoor.
Right,
so
whatever
I don't know
they've named it. Yeah.
Whatever and it could become Nextdoor, but yes, but actually they won't be able to buy. They're not buying it at the IPO. They're just buying like publicly on the market.
Yeah.
So does that same fund, is it able to do this again, or no? It's one fund.
No, they have to create the company. In fact,
they have to find a shell. Yeah.
This will help you understand. This is the particular name of this is something like Khosla Ventures SPAC number 2. Right. You know, it's specifically designed to do for this purpose entirely. Interesting. And then
but you form it not knowing what you're going to SPAC.
You don't know ahead of time. And I guess, but the question is, where's the money flow from? It flows initially from the SPAC company buying Nextdoor, right?
No, it flows from private investors. So what happens is like maybe hedgies, maybe it's your best buddies that you met through LinkedIn. Y'all get your money together. You basically build this SPAC, which is the corporation. You find a publicly traded company. You buy said company, or a
non-publicly traded company, a private company. Oh no, you buy a publicly traded company to become public.
I don't know your order of operations. I think you create the pool of money, you find the public target, or you find the private target. I don't know which comes first in this situation.
So there are investors who put money into this. basically.
Yes. I mean, but in most of them know where, I mean, when you have this pool of money, you know what you're like. It's not like they're like a giant floating pool of money that's looking around. Yeah. It's a giant floating pool of money they've had the discussions with Nextdoor already.
Okay. Right. Oh, all right. And then Stacey, so there was $270 million prior investment. That is a pipe, according to this. That's the money coming in. I already came into it, and whatever equity they had. The total valuation is $4.3 billion. How much money do we imagine? I don't see anything here of how much the Koshland company put in, and then I don't understand how that mixes because when you do an IPO, you do it to get money. In this case, new money. In this case, is everybody who's involved selling off their equity to the public market? I don't understand how that works.
No. So what'll happen is this is basically like a set of investors coming in and giving you, I'm just going to make up a number, $4 billion, right? So $4 billion goes to Nextdoor, and Nextdoor will work with them to take some of that money to do the deal to get them on the public market. And then the rest of that money is just liquidity for Nextdoor. So that could be, and then the stock that the Nextdoor people have, like their what are those called? Their shares and stuff like that. Eventually those should translate into the publicly, whatever the share, the exchange
and the
share
company
price is to get on the market.
Can create more shares too. Right. Okay.
But that's no different. Like when a company goes public anyway, when you do an IPO, the bankers and the people who buy into the IPO are going to, they only raise like $250 million. And what happens is when they go on the trading markets, they hopefully pop, right? And then suddenly they're worth $1 billion. And that's when your shares, if you're a person who has shares in that company and the employees and stuff, that's when you can start selling them and, accruing value.
After a wait period.
It's not at the actual IPO point.
Right.
That's when your investors sell their shares and get, they just trade them in.
Yeah.
But what's the difference
it's
between
a liquidity
sheet
event down the road. Yeah.
What's the difference between a pink sheet and a fuchsia sheet?
Stop it. It is now time for Aunt Pruitt's.
Saturation and hue.